We are live.
Alrighty, I'm recording.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Green Pack.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. No move till you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Green Factory podcast. Nathan
This is Conlon.
And Matt.
and Matt. Vertical Matt.
That's right. Well, on my end of it's weird. On my end, I'm not vertical. I don't understand what's going on.
That's okay.
But-
Camera stays on me most of the time, so it doesn't matter.
I was gonna say you're the star, you guys. I'm just here to, chime in a couple things.
Yep.
I'm just here because you couldn't get the good brother. So,
Oh yeah.
I don't know what he's up to, but he was. Last I knew today, he was pissed off about that tree thing he talked about a while back. He was obsessing about that again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that's why he's not doing it or what. But
Did
either way,
Oh,
Like-
so he just takes a break every once in a while. It's fine because it's
I
not,
always
it's
have
not like
to
we're
walk-
paying him or anything.
Yeah, it's all free. Believe me. No one's making a dime here, but
And he did bother to buy a microphone and thing just for the show. So
I have a microphone, but I still haven't figured out how to make it not sound like crap. So I don't know how to figure that out because it shouldn't be bad, but it just doesn't sound right. So until I figure that out, I'm going to keep using my phone.
that's
yeah, it works fine. Microphones are expensive, and you gotta work with a lot of stuff to get them working. So it's no fun.
This,
and
this snowball here works pretty well but
Yeah.
I mean everybody has it. Like every like Twitch streamer has one of these, but also they're not very. If you want to get like, it's the multi-channel thing gets all screwed up. Then you got to get things like Voice Meter Banana and stuff like that, where you can like make separate digital audio channels, so then you
Yeah.
could have multiple USB mics on a computer, but.
Yeah, I went analog, so
Yeah.
it just does exactly what it's supposed to and nothing else.
But then you have to do the weird thing of having an off-board sound card to get everything.
Yeah, but it also analog. It converts
Yeah.
it to digital, but it's like simple. I don't have to worry like, ooh, are the drivers going to work this week? Is it going to crash? No, it just takes over your sound card. And every 5 years, Apple will make it so that it won't work with it, so you have to buy the next model. There's no conspiracy there, folks.
Nope, I don't know why that keeps happening.
Yeah, it's just
Odd.
unrelated. Well, this one should be for a long time.
Apple, the masters of planned obsolescence.
I was gonna say another company that probably doesn't pay a lot of taxes. So
None.
I was gonna say, if any, I was gonna say they're worth a lot of money. So I can see how they need the
some
extra.
money. Yeah.
Can see how they need breaks.
I remember there was like one year where like Apple like didn't do very well, like business wise, well, like sales wise, but they
Yes.
still like made like an extra $2 billion that year just from their accounting department and basically finding ways for them to like not pay taxes and whatever. And then like they're still like, oh wow, you're super successful just through their accounting department, not because of their technology was better or anything like that.
Yeah, that was like the year after Tim Cook took over. It was the iPhone 7 era, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where they didn't like just and really, I don't know. Most of their money's on iPhones and music streaming still. So, but they have like weird sidelines, like because IBM did the same thing. I think we talked about this before. Where now they're building mainframes for the government again.
Yeah, and they're gonna start making their own processors.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so because the government wants mainframes again because they're tired of the Russians hacking into our power grid or whatever.
Why?
I don't know. Windows 98 is not a good way to run a country.
That's true. The flying
Not-
toaster screensaver is not good.
Yeah.
to cover.
And not because we don't have the technology, but because Apple doesn't pay any taxes. So you have to figure workarounds. Like, let's spend more money so Apple doesn't have to pay taxes.
I think it just like recently, like within a month, like Microsoft finally completely killed Windows XP.
Yeah.
Oh, did they? Not surprising.
Yeah, my son, we had a big update on his computer, and yeah, Explorer and everything's gone. It's got erased. It's like,
Wow.
oh, everything's Google now. You can use Bing, but nobody.
That's their
Oh,
slogan. Why use this? We're here, but why?
It could be. I mean, you can download the new. I think now it's called Edge because they got rid of the Explorer name, so now it's
Yeah.
Microsoft Edge, and it's Chromium based, which that's what Chrome is based on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, it's weird because you hear like Chromium and it sounds like, oh, that's got to be a bootleg Chrome thing, but like no, that's what Chrome is based off of.
Like the Chrome language or something.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Yeah, I don't understand much about computers.
So yeah, now I remember like it used to be like if like something didn't work right, like you could go. It was like you just go over to Windows Explorer because like they must have some weird outdated thing, and then like Internet Explorer will run it because they just like works better with that. Now a lot of people are switching over to Firefox because it's more secure.
Yeah,
and
that's what I use that and Chrome.
Yeah.
Because for some reason my work and my secure accounts does not like Safari,
Yeah.
but it works Firefox. It doesn't like Chrome either, but Firefox, it's like, this work. Because when I access my like any corporate stuff through Ford through their internal server, like if I do it on Safari, it'll work, but the icons will be all weird and oversized. And it keep sending you a message at the top. This is not a secure network. It's like, what do you want? When I downloaded Firefox, and it's like, it's perfect. Like, okay, something's going on. It doesn't like Tor at all. I found that work really freaks out when you do that. Wonder why, but
Why are you in France and Russia and North Korea?
yeah.
I like to get around.
I used to have all that stuff set up on here when we were doing when I would do like research on dark topics for the show. But then I just realized, I'm not, this is like nightmare fuel. I'm reading this stuff and then I'm going to sleep and waking up yelling like, okay, I don't need to read. I'm just going to stick to the Cold War. I don't need to know what's going on in the modern world anymore because it's too weird.
But kind of the problem with Chrome right now is it's just such a resource hog.
Yeah.
It's like I have a text-based web page open and it's like somehow using like 3 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah. Yeah, Chrome's a hog sometimes. I don't know why. But I know
It's usually a case because like I don't think they've like done a full rebuild of it in a while, and so they just keep adding shit to it. So because you're expecting Chrome to basically do everything,
yeah,
it'll hog resources because it's not necessarily built yet to be efficient with all that stuff. So it's just grabs as much as possible.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense.
It does it on a Mac too, so I don't know what the deal is.
It's usually just the RAM, but just occasionally.
Now, my computer, it just it turned almost 7.5 years old the other day. Still going strong with this one. I'm not going to replace it either.
Oh, with a shift in focus to phones and web-based stuff, it's like you almost don't need a badass computer anymore. You can kind of just get things to work wherever.
No, it still supports. It's running the latest version of Catalina. So, then again, I don't use this computer for much except to watch things and do this show. Which doing this show is not resource intensive because everything's off board. So we're just for us. So I don't use it. I'm not doing like video editing on this computer. Of course, my son did ask me because he's having to YouTube his speech stuff. It's like, can you edit video on your Mac? And I said, no. Okay.
Just blatant lie.
Well, it'll do it, but yeah, it's like you got 10 hours.
Yeah,
No,
I
this-
mean, you just need cuts and a dissolve. That's all you need. And fades. Fades.
It doesn't do. We tried it when he was in high school, and it worked, but it took like hours and hours. Because this isn't really my Mac at home is not a powerful computer. It's just
What program are you using, or were you using?
whatever
what-
came on Mac.
What do Macs have for video editing software?
Let me look.
It depends on the Mac.
Matt would know
but-
better than me. Actually.
Yeah, he's got
Well-
a Mac and he's also a video editor.
I was gonna say, like, it depends. Like, you can still like use old versions of Final Cut if you can find it, but I don't know if you have that or not.
No.
Yeah, I didn't know if something came with it because usually all
Yeah,
Macs have a
iMovie
suite of
comes with
stuff.
I was gonna say, I think right now it had iMovie, which I don't know if that's gonna do what you want. It's not the greatest. I was gonna say you could try to get like Adobe, like Cloud.
I mean, you can edit shit in YouTube as well too. It's not
yeah,
great.
that's right.
But
Yeah, YouTube does give that option. I forgot about that. Let's see what else. What else is there? There's a lot of ones you could do illegally, I guess, but I guess it depends on how complex he needs to edit. I don't know.
Well, also
what
with the
he's-
He doesn't need
Okay.
with your school, you can probably find a way to get the Adobe Suite at least for free,
You get a
the-
discount
or the
at least,
student
yeah.
discount at least.
Yeah, well, he's going to campus. That's what me and him were talking about before the show started. His speech class is going to be on campus now because they've been doing the speeches through YouTube, and he did like the best. Like he has the best. He did the best speech and the best recording of it. But a lot of these kids are doing them on iPhones and old stuff, and they don't have access to steady Wi-Fi. And his computer, his laptop could better do that than anything I have. So I said, well, if this becomes a problem in the future, we'll worry about it. But you're just doing a basic freshman year speech class. We don't need to call Steven Spielberg for this. No.
Yeah, I imagine with a speech thing, you're not really doing multiple takes that you need to splice together.
I guess, yeah, I was gonna say I don't know what kind of speech he's doing, but yeah, he's doing the Family Guy version where they go cut scenes away from like, and he mentions something and they have to show it.
No, he's not doing that. He just wanted to cover some errors he made and cut them in. And
Lois, the Stay Puft Marshmallow is fucking the Michelin Man.
But yeah, and it says right in the thing, don't do that. I was like, well, don't worry about it. Don't do that. So look, I didn't follow any of the instructions in my intro speech class when I was in college, and guess what? I got an A. So just give a really good speech.
Yeah, that's all. That should be the content, not how it. Yeah,
Yeah.
whether you make a mistake or not.
But now he's going to campus just for that class. So that'll be his first on-campus experience Monday. So we'll go over there tomorrow and show him where to park so he doesn't get his car towed or get a $300 ticket.
Yeah, those are fun.
Not going to be happy when that. Well, I'm paying $275 a semester for him to park there. So
Yeah.
I'll just show him where to park, and because you don't even get a parking pass anymore. They scan your license plate now.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was like, well, they're saving a ton of money not generating those passes. Like, why are we paying that much? The license scanning software costs $100,000 a car to put it in. Where's all the money going?
Pizza parties.
Well, also that's
this
also
campus-
the reason you have a parking pass is in case you're parking there with a different car possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So now
Yeah.
that can get weird.
We can always add another car for
Oh,
another
okay.
275. We can call and change it actually,
Okay.
because we ask about that. It's like this isn't like a one-time deal, and then he gets in a car wreck, and we got to fucking come up with something different and more money. But I don't know. They say it's a real nightmare parking because it's not a huge campus, and they always tell people,
Well-
hey, you can ride the bus. It's like, yeah, no,
I could, but
taking 2.5 hours to drive 7 minutes.
Oh,
Plus
the
they
bus stuff
cut back
worked
to-
really well at the University of Iowa. Because I had to drive to a parking lot and then you get bussed in and you just know all the routes. But most of my classes were within walking distance, but there's occasionally I had to bus to one.
Yeah, his it's a walking campus. It's just the parking's kind of limited, but they do have enough parking for everyone that's enrolled. So
I imagine there's not going to be a whole lot of people there.
now
Okay.
it shouldn't be a problem because they're only doing the classes that have what they call labs.
Okay.
Because his college is the least infected in Michigan right now. Because U of M's just gangbusters. Michigan State's on lockdown. So
Yikes.
they, well, it's everyone's getting together and having a fucking party. It's like, what do you think is going to happen?
COVID orgy.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a big advocate of drink as much as you can. I believe in that. I'm a strong believer in that. But do it at home. No one's going to randomly pick a fight with you when you're drinking at home. You don't have to worry about getting home. You're home.
Yep, you're there already.
So drink till you have to hold on to the earth to keep from flying away. But do it at home. That's what the front yard's for vomiting in.
I have a drinking story I can share that I heard about. Last weekend, Iowa hasn't started playing yet because the Big Ten just this week decided they're going to have football. So they sent one of our reporters to Ames because Iowa State was playing. They had a home game, and his whole purpose of being there, they're like, go find a house party and people drinking and watching the game and talk to students. So the people he found, there was 40 kids, none were wearing masks. And the one kid on camera goes, well, we basically all had COVID already anyway. It's fine. And
Glad you're sure of that.
Yeah, he put that on TV. And then the next guy he had in the story was he was drunk. So every 5 words he said, obviously. So that was fun.
I love those drunk numbers where they stand really
Obviously.
close to you
Yeah.
and repeat themselves. That's fun.
And then I guess some drunk guy came up to him after the story and was like, you should do a story on chemtrails. You know what those are? Those are things airplanes. It's like, yep, I'll do that. Sure.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan talked about it with Eddie Bravo and Alex Jones. And gay frogs and all that
I'm glad
shit.
someone smart enough to go to a state university wants to talk about chemtrails. With
Yeah, the reporter was telling me, and I'm like, why the hell are they bringing that up? He's like, I don't know.
Or they're just fucking with him. I hope they're just fucking with him.
He said the guy seemed pretty serious about it. So I don't know.
And it's worse than I thought.
Yeah, I want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but if you're bringing that up, it's really? Okay, I don't know.
There was some dumb shit at work that was just working with somebody, and then they were talking about the vaccine, the COVID vaccine being the mark of the beast, and now it's controlling everybody. And I was like, this is still going around.
Was that? I like to think that was Jared Johnson that said that. Was it him?
No.
Oh, I wish. Oh man, the mark of the beast. Well, okay.
Yeah, it's just the old stuff recycled into so you have to get a COVID vaccine to purchase stuff. Is that that's how it worked when I was a kid? That was the thing. They're going to put a microchip in you. And when I was a kid, microchips were like this big.
Yeah, so you'd know if it was. Yeah, you would know.
It required a power source.
Yeah, external power pack. So yeah, when I was a kid growing up, it was that's the mark of the beast, and you'll starve to death if you don't have it because you can't buy or sell anything without it. It's gonna replace currency and all. So now it's the COVID vaccine. It has Bill Gates nanobots in it that will eat your brain or what. I don't know.
5G related somehow.
I can't believe. I always always had this vague impression that people in Europe are smarter than us. Which
it depends. I don't know.
That impression has been deflated. It's like, oh god, no one in the Western world's smart because the attacks against 5G towers much more prominent in Europe than here, and they will burn these things to the ground. It's happened it's happened in places like Norway. I thought they were pretty level. I thought Scandinavians are pretty even keeled and kind of didn't pay attention to nonsense, but yeah, England, Norway, Germany, they burnt one. I don't know who's doing it or if it's it's not a nationwide phenomenon, but it's still I don't think that's happened here yet. I know people talking about it, but it's that kind of disappointed me. It's I thought Europe would keep it together. The cradle of Western civilization was a little better off than us, but maybe not. I don't know. But you got a bunch of people sitting around just They're seeing the same goob we are on the internet. So there's probably statistically just as many dumb people there as here, but
Well,
But
we're here to.
we're flashier about it here, so people are like, "Oh, those stupid Americans!" And we show
Yeah.
off like, "I'm an idiot and I'm proud of it."
Yeah, but we're flaunting that our disinformation for potential comedic purposes, whether that's a success or not, it's not up to us. That's up to you, the viewer. We're also not. We have no.
agenda.
Oh yeah, we don't have an agenda, but authority anyway.
Yeah, I'm not speaking from like a place of like study and learned perspective on what does this mean, big picture.
There's been so many times in the podcast where I end up listening back to it and I use logic to hey, this is why this happens, and then I read some article about how that's absolutely the opposite.
Yeah,
It's like, oh fuck.
yeah, I've done that a lot. But
So,
That's why
and then go down a YouTube rabbit hole of oh, but this is why this is a common misconception. It's like, oh fuck.
yeah, I just why generally I speak in generalities unless I've read a book about it or something. Because what was the big? What was something I did or said that was I wasn't wrong, but I could see where people would get. Oh, it was about the bombing of Dresden when they said that was like the worst bombing campaign in Europe and in World War II, and more people died and it was more horrible death, and actually statistically it was about the same as any city that size, but for some reason Dresden became they were firebombed. It's well, all the cities were firebombed. They used napalm and high explosives. And
Do you think Slaughterhouse-Five bringing a focus on that kind of changed how we thought about it? Okay.
yes, it did. Well, somebody actually
Yeah.
read through it that was an American POW, told us, because he was, Vonnegut was a remarkable storyteller, and he made that very engaging for people. And all of a sudden, Dresden stood out. It stood out for a lot of reasons too. I mean, a lot of that stuff was played up for propaganda against us and the British during the war, and it's one of those things that becomes like a cultural myth almost. It's it was horrible, and lots of people died that didn't need to, because we're just bombing, an old, medieval city. With modern explosives, and we killed a lot of people, but we did that all over Germany. It was the thing with Dresden is it hadn't been bombed before, so when it happened, it wasn't the slow buildup of destruction. It was suddenly it was gone. Oh wow, and they were keeping people there, and Kurt Vonnegut was there, and the book was written about it. So yeah, that I thought it was the case too.
Yeah.
And until I read a bunch of books about the American air campaign during World War II. Now, the real shocking stuff is the stuff that happened in Japan. That was worthy of note. But the only thing we think about in Japan is Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But it's the firebombing of Tokyo was way worse in terms of number of people dead, and how they did it, and how they did it with weather patterns so they could get maximum effect. And they were dropping it on a city with mainly wood structures, and they wanted a high wind coming in, and they bombed from one side so the fire would blow across. And there were people killed that were nowhere near the bombing because just the heat alone just seared their lungs. And yeah, and that was not done with nuclear weapons. That was just done with napalm. But we don't talk. There's things people know. They read or they watch one documentary and oh, that must be what happened. And I mean, I do that shit too.
I don't know if you ever read this or not, but there's I think it's just called A Letter Home by Kurt Vonnegut.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally just a letter he wrote home after Dresden and a bunch of other things. It's really weird and funny because it's him recounting basically being captured by Germans, being let go, captured again, his captors running away, and no one's saving him. The Americans didn't come in and save him. He's oh, I guess I'm just alone now. I guess I'll walk back and try to find my unit or something.
Yeah.
And it's very sardonic take of what you imagine to be the most horrific place on earth.
He just manages to be boring and kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
And horrifying and yeah. And well, I mean, one thing that made the Dresden was worse on some levels, but just not. It wasn't worse in terms of net body count, which is what it was famous for. They made very high claims the number of people that killed. The thing that made Dresden horrible was it was a medieval city built out of stone, and people were hiding in relatively shallow stone basements, and they just literally cooked alive. And then you had to go clear those out, and that's what stuck in a lot of people's minds. It wasn't like a lot of the other German cities where they had bunkers that they were built to hide in, or they just fled the city. That was Dresden. A lot of people thought the stone buildings would save them, but when you're dropping napalm and chemical fires are going off and your gas lines are being ruptured, it's a witch's brew of death. And you don't know when it's going to happen because we do it during the day and the British did it at night. So you're constantly under bombardment. The only reason we did it during the day is we actually wanted to hit the targets. We kind of had a plan. It's like, well, we hit this, and that. Whereas the British were like, we just want to drop bombs where the fire is. Because of what the Germans did to us in the First World War and what they tried to do to us in the Battle of Britain. And so we did, and what they've continued to do to us with V1, V2 rockets. So, yeah, we just want to drop fire on fire because fuck them. And if I was living in London at that time, I'd probably feel the same way. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, those weird, incorrect rabbit holes we go down on this shit. Well, it's like we can get guests. Like if I could get like a historian to, hey, come on the show and talk to us about, that'd be awesome. But nobody's wants.
What's your viewership?
7.
It's a good number. Not too many. Not
3
too
of those
much.
are me opening the link, reloading the link.
Yeah, really 4. Mom and Dad love it. So we got that, Yeah, it's hard to get people. I've tried to have people on before.
Speaking of things Mom and Dad love, have you seen Perry Mason yet?
I watched the first 3 episodes before I had to don't have HBO anymore. So
Oh yeah, okay.
it was pretty good.
That was good. Okay, because I remember like when we were like seeing the trailers, we're kind of like, I don't know about this. Like, why is he not a lawyer? But apparently they get into that. So
Yeah, it's young Perry Mason. Well, it's actually young middle-aged Perry Mason. But, no, it's a well done show. It captures that time very well. But yeah, I only got to see 3 episodes.
I haven't watched any yet, but
I wanted to see that Ridley Scott thing, but I'm gonna have to break down and give myself a birthday present and get HBO Max or something.
we can figure things out.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, the Raised by Wolves is the show you're talking about.
Yeah, I just want to see it because I like Ridley Scott.
The Twitter stuff I've been hearing about has been pretty good. It's like, oh my fucking god, and like this show, and like just no specifics. And like, I guess I should watch this show,
And I was like, I guess this is good.
or at least it's crazy.
I've heard good things about it from people I like a lot of the science fiction writers that I'm either friends with or follow on Facebook. Like they've piped up and said that this is interesting. This is a good throwback. This is, but then again, some of those guys are like excited about the new Foundation trilogy. I'm like, well, okay. There's a reason that was never made into a
Is it
movie.
the Asimov?
Yeah.
Oh, are they making it into like a series?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or it might have already come out. I don't know. When I saw it, and I was like, no. I could be wrong, but I know the Foundation. I know the Asimov pretty well, and those are great books. I don't know how you can make those into interesting movies. That there's so many things bouncing off the walls in those. It's like Ray Bradbury. Ray Bradbury never adapted well into movies, but he wrote great books. Even it's 60s science fiction, so it's a little dated, but still the ideas are cool. Yeah.
So Matt, have you been keeping up with sports? I usually know you have a sports connoisseur.
Which sports do you want to talk about? I can try to talk. I mean, I covered high school football last night. I haven't done that in a couple of years. So
What's that like? Are there fans allowed?
I went to an 8-man football game, so it was like a small town. Like they play at the fairgrounds in Wyoming, Iowa, and not a lot of people were wearing masks. There were some, but not a lot. And probably the weirdest part was that the home team was waiting to return a kick, and somebody in the home stands yells, "Run fast, Jameson, like someone's trying to beat you with a baseball bat." Loud enough everybody could hear him. I'm like, why? I don't understand. Apparently that's what you have to do to make that kid run. So I don't understand it, but it was very strange because the crowd like wasn't that excited about anything because when I left at halftime they were up 30-8 and they're like, who cares? Because I guess the week before they won 78-12, so like this isn't as exciting as last week. So it was very weird.
Yeah, I
But,
know in Japan, I've been watching wrestling out of Japan, and they're now up to 50% capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's kind of they make a concerted effort not to yell, so they have they have to do everything by like clapping and do different clapping to try to like. No, I mean like Japanese crowds are usually known to be like kind of quiet and respectful. But like you won't notice it, but they will like lose their shit like all the time. Like in a normal crowd where everyone's yelling, you'll just hear like some Japanese lady like in an Okada match just every 5 seconds. Okada. It's like Jesus. We know his name.
Just in case people didn't know, that's his name.
And then AEW now is doing 15% capacity at Daily Place or Daily Plaza. No, it's an amphitheater next to the Jaguar Stadium.
Oh, okay.
Because Tony Khan, who runs AEW, his dad owns the Jaguars.
Ah.
They won last week, so that's exciting.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't.
Tony also runs their analytics team for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he also is like he's like a GM for Fulham Football Club.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's interesting. He's pretty busy then, huh?
Yeah, he's also rich, so maybe he can just do that. So
he just is like, I take credit for it, but somebody else does it.
He does good work. You know, he's like. For a rich person, you root for him, which you usually don't. I mean, he is a rich kid, so you usually are immediately like, I don't value anything from this person because everything had to have been handed to him. But like, he does the work, so
at least he tries.
Yeah,
that's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Tennessee Titans football team. Their offensive coordinator is the son of the guy that owns FedEx, so that's kind of funny. Because it's like, oh, he must have had it easy. How is he a football coach? It's odd, but he's pretty interesting. So yeah, I read that. You know, a rich guy I like to root for, Jeff Bezos. He's real scrappy. He's a real scrappy underdog. I hope that kid.
I can't wait till he becomes a trillionaire. He's gonna be the first.
Yeah, when he finally reaches his ultimate dream of making sex robots on Mars, I mean, that's when we're gonna really see him blossom. But he found a nice human woman to love, and all that money he lost in his divorce. Good for him. But
his wife divorces him, and like he's got good lawyers, so she doesn't get half, but she still became the richest woman in the world.
Yeah, she did fine. Yeah, she's like, whatever.
Now she's trying to like, how do I give all this away? Which is fine.
That's nice of her.
Yeah, well, I don't think she's bad person. But.
No, I mean, she should get to keep some of it for being married to that guy. So I mean, why not?
I don't know anything about him. I just know like our two federal representatives. They opened a bunch of Amazon fulfillment centers around here, and they gotten so many emails from people that work there saying the conditions are horrible. I can't talk. They just showed up and said, "Hey, this is who we are," and they showed their like. They're the representatives. It was our representative and someone from Detroit. Amazon called the cops on them. And they were
of course they did, yeah.
Really? Okay. You understand what my job is, right? All right. But they finally let them in. But they said they had just like people in there cleaning like crazy. And It's like, oh my God. So when I hear things like that, I don't think too much of him, but I don't know anything about him. I know he likes the Lord of the Rings. I know he has his own private NASA, so.
Oh, sorry, my bad. There's a whole book about his relationship with his dad that I haven't read, but it's supposed to be interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, because I guess his dad was like working class and like kind of an inventor / tinker, and his like dad like can't even talk to him anymore because he won't talk to him. Like Jeff Bezos won't talk to him anymore. So I don't know what that's about, but
yeah, I don't imagine any of those guys are fun guys. I mean, I watched that. Finally watched The Social Network. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is everything that they said was going wrong when they were making this movie has now happened. So, but I don't know how much that movie's a reflection of reality and how much it's fictionalized.
I mean, it is a Aaron Sorkin script. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a well-made movie, and I don't think they're full of shit. I don't think they're doing it for trying to get attention. You know,
I heard an interesting anecdote about Aaron Sorkin telling a story about writing that script and how there's a part where like he's getting drunk and like coding or doing something on Facebook and he wrote in for some reason he wrote in there that he didn't want to just have him drinking beer, so like he had him like a mixed drink, like he mixed a drink for himself. And he had like this really specific purpose to do it for, and then they immediately cut it out of the movie. It's like no college kid is like mixing a drink on, like they're just drinking a 12-pack of beer and going on Facebook.
yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
But how is the football this year?
How's football this year?
Any exciting early developments?
Early developments. I guess it depends on what you want to talk about. I know that the Bears.
How's Cam Newton? Is he looking good for the?
He won. They won last first week, so he had a couple of rushing touchdowns and seems to be doing fine. And
yeah, I saw the stats and it was like, 0 throwing in the touchdowns. Like, but he ran 2 in, so that's like.
Yeah, so he's good. But no, it seems like the Patriots are adapting their offense to fit him because like he's a pretty unique quarterback. There's not a lot of quarterbacks his height and his weight. They can just run over people. Might as well use them if you have them. So, but yeah, no, that they won. And let's see, the Jaguars, like I mentioned, they won even though they got rid of most of their good players from when they were in the AFC Championship from a couple of years ago. Like they're like, there's no way they're gonna win. They won. So. Because let's see, what else am I?
Tom Brady lost.
Tom Brady lost, which I'm fine with that. Like that's good. And let's see, I know that my favorite team beat the Detroit Lions. They probably shouldn't have, but they did. So I'll take it. But when you have to like score, 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and you only win because the rookie running back for the Lions can't catch a simple like 2-yard pass, then you shouldn't be that proud of yourself. But. And they still won, so I'll take it.
Continuing the Lions tradition.
Yeah, I felt bad for them because when I was watching, I'm like, he's got to catch that. Never mind. It's like that was a
my son was watching that, and my son knows a lot more about football than I do.
Yes.
He was throwing shit around the room, screaming and yelling. And he was like, this is such a classic Lions game. Hey, we're going to get ahead.
Yep.
We're going to get ahead, and then we're going to just fucking fall on our faces. And just quit the field. I mean, he actually like broke a table or something. He was so angry. He goes, I fucking hate it that this is like the team, that I could actually conceivably go see. And it's like, this is so pointless. This is every game the Lions play right here. And he was quite upset. And I was mystified. I was like, yeah, if you say it.
Well, that's the thing about the Lions. Like, their head coach, like, he was the defensive coordinator for the Patriots, and he won a bunch of championships, but that hasn't translated to being the head coach of the Lions. Like, he didn't learn anything that special, apparently. And then you have a quarterback, and he's a good quarterback, but the issue is, like, I don't know. Like, the game last week, they lost their top 3 cornerbacks during the game, so that's not really their fault, but... And then their head coach, Matt Patricia, who is supposed to be a defensive like mastermind, decided hey, zone coverage is working pretty good this whole game. Let's go back to man, though. And then that's when they start scoring touchdowns against them. It's like, that was a bad idea. So, but, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Lions, they've always kind of been – I was going to say, they haven't really been good for a while. They've had good players here and there. But Barry Sanders, like, if he retires, before retirement age, there's a reason he did that. He's like, well, this is looking pretty hopeless. Like, no offense. Yeah.
My son goes on the NFL chat,
Oh, yeah.
and he's always like, "Yeah, I got 500 likes." He's always saying stuff. He wrote like a paragraph, a plea, just like, Matthew Stafford, please do not waste your career with this
Yeah.
team. You don't know how long you got left, but I'm telling you, man, you're going nowhere. You got like 600 likes on the line.
I'll have to read that. That sounds entertaining.
Yeah, I'll try to. I'll have him. It's fine.
That's awesome. He has a point, though. He's a good quarterback. He should go somewhere else. And
Yeah, that's what my son said. He gets real passionate about. It's like, these players are wasting their lives. Only 1% of the people that ever put on a football uniform ever even approach professional sports. And he was telling me this, and he goes, and this guy's, it's just fucking wasting it. He might as well sit on the bench for all the good it's going to do him.
Yeah.
Getting paid, but you don't live forever. You don't have a long career. And yeah, he just goes on and on about this. I'm like, okay, yeah.
well, then, like, also, like, Matthew Stafford, the quarterback he's talking about, like, his wife just had, like, a brain tumor and stuff. Like, he's like, they should just do something else. Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, move on, be happy. But, I mean, and also, like, Barry Sanders isn't the only Lions player that retired early. Kelvin Johnson retired early, too, like, the receiver. Like,
Yeah.
so, like, that's not a good theme when you're like, people are quitting because they're like, I've had a good enough run. I made enough money. I just don't want to
Are
do
they
this.
angry about them quitting? Like,
No, there's not really much you can do. Like, if someone wants to retire,
Well,
like, well, okay.
well, I'm a Colts fan. I remember when Andrew Luck retired.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
there's,
people
like,
were pissed about that.
and I was like, good for him.
yeah, well, he can do whatever he wants. I
Keep
think
your
the
brains
problem
in your
was,
skull.
I think the issue was, like, it was in the middle of, like, a preseason game, and, like, people found out because the story broke before it was supposed to be announced, and they were like, oh, we're going to be good this year. Like, what? Why is he leaving? What the fuck is this? And, yeah, he was on the sidelines, and they're, like, booing him. It's like, okay. It's like, calm down. Don't you know he has a book club? You should go read a book he suggests. It's fine. But, yeah, it's not really
And is
football,
Is there 2 teams in LA now?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Yep.
they went from none to 2.
Yeah,
It's
the
the
Chargers
the
are-
Raiders and the Rams? Oh, the Chargers?
No, the Raiders are in Las Vegas now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the Chargers and the Rams, yeah.
So are they the Las Vegas Raiders?
Yes, yeah.
Huh, I
Yes.
did not know that.
I mean,
I knew they moved out of Oakland. I just didn't know where they went. I thought they just
It's
went
a
to
good.
LA.
I think it's a good fit for them. Why not?
Yeah.
Their
Golden
new
Knights
stadium
opened
looks
the door.
pretty cool, so yeah, why not?
Oh, is it new? Okay. They're not
Yeah,
using,
they're the
they're
new
not using some
stadium
college team or something.
No, they built a new stadium, and it kind of looks like I'm trying to think what they call it. They call it like the Death Star, like it's all black, like it's very interesting.
Okay, so very Raiders-ish. Okay.
Yes, very Raiderish. But yeah, I'm trying to think any other storylines football-wise. I know Phillip Rivers plays for the Colts now, and he didn't do that well last week, and they lost. So I know that. And let's see. But yeah, more football this week, second week. I guess the biggest storyline is with any sport, whether it's football, wrestling, whatever. Can they get through the entire season or all the matches without teams like having to, not play because of COVID? So we'll see what happens.
Well, what's going on with baseball? Because I know they were having a problem. Is it just moving along now?
I have at the beginning of the season, like most of the Marlins, like the Florida Marlins, like got COVID, and then they couldn't play. But I think they've done okay so far. The playoffs are coming up here pretty soon. I know that.
Oh yeah, they're doing a shortened season. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then the Houston Rockets, they had a player when they were still in the playoffs, when they're in the bubble down in Orlando. He got kicked out of the bubble because he let one of the testing people in his room, like it was a woman. I'm assuming to have sex with her. I don't know. But he
Or to
let
talk
her in his
about
room.
literature, yeah.
He wanted to know about false positive COVID tests. I don't really, I'm not sure, but they kicked him out because they're like, well, you can't do that. Have people in your room, so get out of here. So yeah, so that's entertaining.
What's
He
also
didn't really-
weird
he
is
was-
that they're gonna have this playoff, and it's gonna
Yeah.
end in like a month or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're gonna start up the next season in like December, but like out of the bubble, they're just gonna do like traveling between the team stadiums.
It'll be fine by then, right? It'll
Sure.
magically go away. First it was the heat that kills it, and now it's the cold. So
Yeah,
We've
because
changed-
diseases don't spread in the cold at all.
never. That's
Once you
there's
learn
never.
from influenza.
Yeah, the flu just drops dead in the winter, for lack of a better phrase. It's an insensitive phrase. This is kind of a random thing to say, but I had to go to a change of venue murder trial hearing the other day, and the defense attorney for the person that was accused of murder was like, the people that this guy was family of the guy this guy was accused of killing was sitting 5 feet away, and the defense attorney goes, for a lack of a better way to put this, it's not a garden variety murder trial. It's like garden variety. What is a garden variety murder trial? Like,
Is that just guns? It's
Yeah, just some tomato, some celery, just
yeah, it's like death by vegetable. Like, I don't understand. Like, the people in the audience are like, "What the heck did he just say?" It's like,
this
that
is
guy
a
was just,
normal murder.
yeah, this isn't
Special
normal.
Would involve
So,
a
yeah.
wood chipper.
Yeah. Well, like this specific case is this guy allegedly robbed a bunch of drug dealers, and then they like told him, "Meet me at this house," and then they stabbed him to death and buried him in the backyard. So, you know,
Oh, in that case, okay. Yeah, mom told
Yeah.
me about that.
yeah, you know that one now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, good times. That's when my day. That was my day the other day. My first thing I did was go to a fatal school bus accident, and then I went to that trial thing afterwards. It was a pretty uplifting day.
Yeah, it's nothing to dream about there.
Yeah, nothing. You know, when you get to see someone in a body bag taken out of a car that hit a school bus head on, then you move on to a murder trial hearing thing. So, you know, it's pretty cool.
So let's go on with hockey then.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Well,
head-on collision.
The Stanley Cup Finals just started. It's the Dallas Stars, and I think it's the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know who won the first game, but I know that happened.
I heard good things about Tampa Bay, so probably them.
Yeah, I'm assuming them, but I want Dallas to win just because they haven't won since, I'm trying to think, 1999 or something like
Seems
that.
about right.
Back when Target was where Harbor Freight is now, so, you know. I was like, that's all I got. PlayStation 2.
And now a 5. Did you
Yeah,
did you guys hear about that now?
I saw it. Looks
Okay.
cool.
Oh, yeah. I saw it, too. It kind of looks like an alien, like, I don't know what it is.
It looks like an elaborate router.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been out there. Just now they released the price on it. So
What's the price?
it's $4.99 for the disc version and $3.99 for the digital version.
Just a hard drive one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Doesn't sound bad.
Um,
I don't know. I won't be buying one. So.
Me neither. Yeah.
eventually, I probably will.
I just bought a Sega Genesis, so my nut's gone.
Got an
Sick.
Atari 2600.
Yeah, those are pricey. Yeah.
Yeah, then also Xbox they released their price and stuff, but they released it like a week ago. So their one now theirs is weird because there's a wide range of differences between the two consoles that they're releasing. I mean, it's the same console, the Xbox Series. You have the Series X and the Series S.
Okay.
And the X kind of looks like a mini fridge. It's like a monolith kind of tall boxy thing,
Okay.
and it's going to be $4.99. And then they have the Series S, which is like half the size. It's not 4K, or maybe it does 4K Blu-ray stuff, but it's not as powerful as the Series X, and so it's somewhat compromised in that. But like for like 1080p TVs, like for people who haven't upgraded their TV, like this is going to be totally fine for them. They're probably not even going to notice the difference between the two consoles.
Okay.
But it's also coming in at $299, so that's way less.
Yeah, that's
That's cheaper than, yeah, it's not bad.
So it's $200 cheaper, and yeah. I never bought an Xbox One this generation because I won them through that Dorito contest or Mountain Dew contest.
Oh yeah, I remember all that.
Oh yeah.
Gave my son one of those.
Yeah, all I had to do was get some bottle caps from the recycling center, and then to sweeten the deal, buy some small bags of Doritos and get the codes in there. Because if you use a Mountain Dew and a Dorito code, you get like double the points. So I bought a bunch of Ziploc bags to open up these Dorito bags to get the codes out. Had like
So you just have a
full-
cupboard full of Ziploc bags of Doritos.
Yep.
You're like, oh, okay, nice.
which they went way faster than I thought they would. It's like, this is too many Doritos. Apparently not.
Thing. Can't have too many Doritos or what's the other thing? Oreo cookies,
Yeah.
which I don't really like those, but some people are just like, oh, it's like crack.
I was gonna say there's like all these weird flavors of those now that I don't know any of them, but yeah, there's
do
quite a few.
you know who the Pro Zed is, the YouTuber?
No.
I've talked about him before, but his name's also Sung One.
Okay.
But like it's like Pro ZD, but I always call it Bro Zed because that just sounds better or cooler, I guess. But yeah, he does one where he buys all the different flavors and eats every flavor of Oreo, which is kind of interesting. Because there's like one bit where it was carrot cake flavored Oreos,
Yes. I've seen those.
and it was weird how impressed he was with them because he's like, I don't know if I like these, but like, oh fuck, do these taste exactly like carrot cake?
They really nailed the carrot cake. Good job, Nabisco. You really came through on this one.
Might have to try that. I'm a big fan of carrot cake, but I like
carrot cake. Yeah.
It's got the icing with 2 sticks of butter in it. For 8 by 12 pan. It's gotta be
very-
wonderful.
It's very health conscious
Oh, yeah.
compared to normal Oreos. Those are shit, but carrot cake.
I saw the latest. You guys know Nat's What I Reckon YouTube channel?
I think I've watched some of those before.
He's the guy that does the cooking videos and swears a lot, and he's from Australia.
The Australian guy with the long hair that's like the metal dude or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So like the recent one he did was like a meat layered lasagna.
Yes.
And like the whole point of it, his whole thing is he's like, fuck jar sauce, and he teaches you how to make like various sauces by yourself and incorporate them into a dinner. And so this time he's looking at bechamel, and he like gets a jar of bechamel, and he's like, what is this shit? And he like reads the ingredients. He's like, none of this shit's in bechamel. So he makes bechamel, and it's like, what bechamel is essentially is just butter and flour, and then you mix in milk with it.
Yeah. It's gravy for all intents and purposes.
Yeah. And then at the end, he puts cheese in it for the lasagna. He's like, so now we're gonna put some cheese in it, and this will make it not bechamel, but it'll taste awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, he does some good stuff. I like his car review. Because he has a terrible. It's like a real tiny car,
Yeah.
but it's new, and he's like, well, it doesn't suck, and it's new. I'm not going to be working on it all the time. But yeah, he's driving this really tiny car around Australia. It's like funny. I forget what it was. I think it was like a Hyundai or something weird.
Yeah.
It's the ones they can't sell here because they're like the A-class cars. They're just like a coffin. It's
Oh,
also-
like the ones in,
Speaking of
in
coffin
France.
cars. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
Are there ones in France like that where they're like really cheap, like $2,000 to $4,000, and you can drive them, and they're basically like a bigger version of Urkel's car in Family Matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
I did sometimes I watch car videos on YouTube, and they have.
Jay Leno's garage. Yeah.
I've watched him.
Yeah.
This guy, these were street racers. The guy had a Mazda Miata with an LS1 Corvette engine in it, with a 78 CFM boost turbocharger, and he was racing like cars that were a lot bigger and just blowing the doors off of them. But he pulled over and he was talking to the guy, and he lifted the hood and he was showing what was in, and the headers were just like glowing red because he was boosting this car. I mean, he was outrunning like I don't know, just like Chargers with turbochargers and these crazy street car guys. I know they're out west, like they do crazy shit like that, like a $70,000 V8 sports car. Not enough. We got to put like turbo boosters and stuff on it, but yeah, his turbo was it was pretty cool because it was basically home brew, and he had this giant wastegate at the back that you could see. It's like, holy shit, he is just. But he had to coordinate it all, but it was funny to see a Mazda Miata run that fast. And he beat these guys, and they were like in a GSR 300 that was boosted to 600 horsepower, and they're like, "What's that car like to control?" He's like, "Oh, I almost flipped it over racing you guys." All over the place. It's because it's just a Mazda Miata with some meats on it, and it's producing this tremendous amount of horsepower in this real tiny car. And
does he have to like rebuild that engine every race?
no, these are street racers. They're just they're going down like the Santa Monica freeway or something at night, and no, those engines can tolerate a lot of abuse, but I don't know how he's keeping it cool. I don't know I want to see your cooling setup for that thing, because not only is it a Corvette engine, but you're putting the biggest supercharger you can conceivably put on, or turbocharger you can conceivably put on that thing. That thing's got to be just a massive heat trap. But for some reason, he pulled over and was talking, and then he started up and drove away. So. But yeah, that was funny when the guy's like, "Doesn't that get a little hoppy?" He's like, "I almost flipped it over when I was racing you guys. I thought we were going over.
I thought I was gonna die."
Like a 50-year-old guy, and he had a passenger with him. Like, yeah, you're going over. It's like, holy shit. He's probably some like engineer or something that's just has a lot of money. He's like, yeah, let's put an LT1 motor in a fucking Miata.
And it might be going on right now, but the 24-hour Le Mans is this weekend.
Yep.
So, which I know nothing about.
I follow it a little bit. Well, Ford was.
Well, I tried to see like how can I watch this, and it's basically impossible unless you have like Motor Trend TV.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
If you have a Rolex, you can watch it.
Because you can fly there on your jet and watch it in person. Yeah.
Like I figured, almost I'd have a YouTube channel because like who the fuck's broadcasting 24 hours of a race?
Yeah, who has that kind of time? It's actually on Quibi, which makes no sense.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Also, what I thought was crazy is like, so I thought like the 24 hours of Le Mans was like the pinnacle of like the endurance racing league or whatever. Like that's the end of it. That's a championship. No, there's like a 48-hour race too.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's those desert racers too that do insane times, like 72-hour races. I think there's a gap there for maintenance, but yeah, they're just essentially. Well, I remember when. What was it? The people went to Dubai with a Bugatti.
Oh, was that Ewan McGregor? Or?
No, it was the one. It was the what was the Top Gear?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah, and the Bugatti got its doors blown off by like a Suzuki Samurai with some big scoop sitting out of the hood. Okay, the guy who owns that is his thing is he's a championship desert racer too, because they're like, what the fuck is that? And There's a whole YouTube channel on that car. It's like, yeah, it's like the fastest thing you can put on the road because I think it has like 2,800 horsepower and it just drives in a straight line and nothing can outrun it. A Bugatti Veyron cannot outrun this thing. Now, it uses more gas than a Bugatti, substantially more. But yeah, that guy also does those. But I know we had a lot of Le Mans stuff because when Ford reintroduced the GT again, they've introduced it a couple times. They ran it in Le Mans that year, and we had all the stats and stuff on the screens at work. But they only do that as a look at this, and then they don't continue to compete in it because they ran that car, the actual car you can buy. They ran it in Le Mans. They just had to make it to have some safety equipment in it. It's like, oh wow. I don't know how good it did, but probably did pretty good. Those very fast cars.
Well, it probably won its whatever category it was in.
Yeah, because there's like 9 categories that run there.
Yeah, there's one I forget. It's like LA, like LMR1 and LMR2, which like they're like essentially like one-off experimental cars.
Yeah,
They're not really road cars. I mean, they're technically road cars, but you're not buying them to like your everyday driver. Like, no, you're just building this car to run a race.
I can't remember what the categories are, and I could probably look it up, but it'd be boring to read through. But I think there's like naturally aspirated, turbo, and then there's like experimental, and then there's like what do they call those? Like not historical, but classic
Yeah.
guys that just have Le Mans cars from the '60s. And, yeah, let's race this around and beat the shit out of myself in the car to say I did it.
You know, when I was listening to that a different review from another podcast about the Ford versus Ferrari movie, and they were wondering like, do they still do the running to the car thing? And like, no, they don't.
Dang it, that was my favorite part.
It's actually kind of cool, but I can see why they don't do it anymore.
You know, the outrageous danger, the outrageous safety.
Yeah, having
possibility.
people run on a live racetrack's probably not as smart.
Oh, somebody's too slow, and now he gets trampled by a fucking car.
They get caught in the wheel well of a.
Yeah, F1 update. Did you watch the Tuscan Grand Prix, Nathan?
I did. I watched it while I was assembling tracks for a tank. So
So this is the first time the F1's ever raced at Mugello.
yes,
It's not necessarily the first time an F1 car has been there, because Ferrari owns this track, and they did some testing on it like years ago.
right.
And then some of the feeder leagues, like I think like F3 had raced there. So one of the drivers actually had experience racing this for F3, but F1 has never been here properly for a race.
Okay.
So I mean, it was another Mercedes 1-2, so that's pretty boring. But Alex Albon got his first podium, so that was really cool to see, because it seemed like he was about to be fired by Red Bull, and so he gets a podium. So that probably gives him another year at Red Bull.
One thing I noticed about this race, besides again, I'm just an amateur observer of these. I'm watching them mainly because you like them and it's something to talk about. But I got the vibe that like Bottas and Hamilton were almost competing.
Yeah.
They seem to be, because I know Bottas was like initially, didn't he have the lead for a while?
Yeah, well, like during qualifying, Bottas had the best times, but like on Q3 of qualifying, the final of the qualifying, he had to abort his last lap because Esteban Ocon flew off the track and caused a yellow flag.
Okay.
And so he had to abort his time. So then he ends up behind Hamilton at the start of the race. But then this race was crazy because it had multiple red flags.
Yeah.
So the last race also had a red flag. But here's the thing to tell you. In the last 3 years, the previous 3 years, there's only been one red flag in 3 years. And they've had 3 in the last 2 races.
Yeah.
So let you know, Matt, I don't know if you know or not, what a red flag means is basically whatever order the cars are in, they're pulled into the pit and the race stops while like things are being fixed. Like if someone runs into a tire barrier, they have to go fix a tire barrier, and they can't have people racing around because the last guy.
Well, yeah, they don't want you running over stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because the F1 almost had like a 20-year without a death, because the last person who died before that guy was Ayrton Senna, and then it was like 20 years with no deaths, and then the last guy who died ran into the car that was like picking up the other car. So that's why like, when they have to repair these barriers, they just like better safe than sorry, and they just like stop the race and fix the barriers. Also,
I think that's smart.
Also, because this is like an older track, they don't necessarily like things weren't like at the ready. So they just had to stop the race so they could get things out there and fix things. So yeah, on the very first lap, Max get knocked out of the race. They go in the gravel pits and like their cars can't work anymore, and they're just stuck in the gravel pit.
Yeah.
Roman Grosjean also got stuck up in that, but he got flung further, and he like hit the wall squarely, and somehow his car wasn't damaged. Like he turned the car off, and he's like, "Ah, for fuck's sake! Like my race is over." And then like, "Wait, hold on, I think I can get this to go." And he pulls back out in the track. And he's like, I think the wing's not broken." And then it's like, some gravel on my back. That's fun, but whatever. I think the car's working. There was a funny article written about him where it was like Grosjean's weird heroic last place because he came in last place in the race, but like he like overcame essentially a crash. But so yeah, that was the very I think that was the first corner because this track is kind of small, but the first straightaway and turn are very big. Like the cars were going like 4 wide, which in F1 never happens usually. Like the tracks are never wide enough to have that happen. And this is why, because they just fucking wreck into each other.
And that's hence the red card. Red flags, red cards, whatever.
Well, at first it was just a safety car, and then the safety car came out and got everybody back, and then they did a rolling start. And just as they do the rolling start, there is a horrific crash in the midfield.
Yeah.
That took out 4 cars, I think. And it was like a weird thing where like it's like the leader, then the Bottas was in the lead at this time.
Yep.
And so it's at his discretion when he wants to start the race, but once they hit the start finish line, they can start racing. So he sets the pace. And so things were kind of slowing down, but it wasn't really his fault because there's been a lot of analysis about this, like who fucked this up. Essentially, there's a lot of stop and go stuff, and at some point, the people in the back saw the lights flashing green, and they thought, okay, we can race. But you still technically can't pass anybody until you cross the start finish line. But people just started racing, and so like there's dudes that were like almost stopped in the middle of the track, and Antonio Giovinazzi just like fucking plows in the back of I think it was Magnussen and
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, yeah, he just like plows in the back of Magnussen. Then Carlos Sainz gets under a car. Like the car almost like went on top of him, and like thank God they have those halo things because there's a lot of shit that could have happened there.
Yeah, because someone could have been decapitated in this one.
Ooh.
Yeah, those cars were all over each other. I mean, the in cab on that midfield crash was like there was like a guy he was right a wheel off another car was right next to him. And oh fuck!
And Antonio Giovinazzi hits Magnussen. Like you actually get to see the wheel tethers actually work this time because like both his wheels just fell off and they're just like dangling there. It's like, wait, at least the tethers worked this time because last time his car wrecked, his tire went off and hit George Russell. But yeah, so this is the first fucking lap of the race, and there's already 6 cars out of the race.
Oh wow!
So then they red flagged that because they had to like fucking clean up all the mess on those start finish straight.
Debris with a steamroller or with a snow plow. There was so much shit all over the field. Well, they didn't use a snow plow. There was a lot of shit.
Yeah. So that was the first red flag. Then they start the race again, and I think this is where Hamilton gets ahead of Bottas, which is kind of a bummer because it just seemed like Bottas is doing really good here, and then just Hamilton wins it. And then at some point, Lance Stroll, his car just flies off the track and into a tire barrier. Like he says that it's a puncture, but I still haven't heard any like kind of final analysis on what actually happened with his car. But they're saying it's a puncture, and then his car just like went off into the tire barrier, really hard. So that did not look good. Like he seemed to be okay, but when you see that car after he was done with it, it was fucked up. Like they had to
Crunch.
Yeah, and then there's these Italian guys with fire extinguishers, and they had to use multiple fire extinguishers. So this one guy's done with it, and he just fucking tosses it. Give me a fire extinguisher. Also, he got that phone call when he was getting out of the car, and when his engineer tells him, "Jump off the car," which means because these cars have electrical engines in them,
Yeah.
they can have weird electrical issues, and so if you are touching the car and the ground at the same time, you become the conduit.
Okay.
So for safety
Uh-oh.
reasons, you're told to jump off your car and not touch the car.
That's kind of like what they tell you to do if you're in my job. If you put a live truck mast into an electrical line, don't touch any part of the van. Jump out and roll off onto the ground. So I understand how that works. I've seen a video about that.
Huh.
Ooh, quick diversion. So I have an idea to make. So I like the idea of them running to their cars at Le Mans or whatever. So now whenever there's a red flag, people should just be running the race, physically running around the track while they clean up. I like that idea, but I don't think they're going to do it.
Oh, they do some weird things in the red flag during a red flag. The last race, Lewis Hamilton got on his little scooter, and he went to go find the FIA heads because he was getting a penalty, and he wanted to hey, what the fuck's up with this penalty?
Wanted to
I've
go
got
kick
time.
dirt on him and spit on him while he held him back. Like in baseball.
Yeah, pick up third base and throw it. Yeah, I like it.
But and then so that became another red flag because he just fucked up the tire barrier, so they had to repair the tire barrier.
So are these races on actual TV, or how do you watch these?
I watch mine on the internet, but
Yeah,
You watch it? Yeah.
they're on ESPN. I can watch it through the ESPN TV app or whatever.
Okay.
Because they race in pretty much Europe right now. The races are all on at 9 a.m. in the morning.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of weird, but
It's an interesting time to watch a race. Why not?
yeah, I like when when they have the Japan Grand Prix. Is it Japan Grand Prix or Japanese Grand Prix? I think it's Japanese Grand Prix. So when that goes on, the race will be on at 2 in the morning. So usually we'll finish the podcast and oh cool, I can watch the Japanese Grand Prix.
It's perfect.
didn't they have a pit row pile up?
I don't know.
Or was it? No, that wasn't this one. That was never mind.
Yeah, then you had another start, and then this start kind of because George Russell was in 9th place, and it's oh, Williams is finally going to get points because his pace at the time was really good, so he's pretty much going to hold that spot. But because they had another standing start, he he just fucking lost it.
Yeah.
And he didn't get it back. And Ricciardo, I think Daniel Ricciardo got up in 2nd place, but then he couldn't hold it either. But he had a really good. He finished 4th. But Albon, yeah, Albon was putting some fucking work because he's making a lot of. Albon's really good at making weird passes. He always passes on the outside.
Yeah.
In weird places, and you hear him talk about it. It's oh, that kind of makes sense, but it just doesn't really. When you see it first happen, it's well, that seems the hard way to do things. Because passing on the outside rather than on the inside, it's just you just have to go further, but also the inside of the track is where most of the racing is done. So the further you get into a race, because the rubber is coming off the tires, it makes the racetrack more grippable the further you get through a race. So when you're driving on places on the track that are less traveled, you're not guaranteed traction that you are on the inside line.
Yeah, you're not picking up the rubber on the road.
Yeah.
It feels like you're driving a Mazda Miata with a Corvette engine. I get it.
The turbocharger on it.
Yeah, you're gonna flip it. I get it.
So yeah, Alex Albon made some really cool passes. And also when he talks about it, he's well, if you're passing on the outside of this turn, like, and you get like side by side and you're racing, like eventually at one of the turns you're on the inside. So then that's where you like, that's where like passing on the outside will go in your favor, because eventually then you're on the inside. But yeah, he does a lot. He's great at doing like a lot of weird passes. So even the FIA gives him a penalty for it once. He's like, he passed the guy on the track, and they give him a penalty for what they quote passing him in a non-passing area, which is like, wait, are you telling me you can't fucking pass a car on the track?
Was there a broken yellow line there?
He said he didn't see the no passing sign. We've all been there.
Yeah, well, was that double yellow? What's double yellow when you can't pass?
Yeah,
Did he pass a really slow tractor that was taking up both of the...
So yeah, that was another boring Mercedes 1-2, but at least Alex Albon got to get the podium, so he gets to keep his job for at least this year.
All those British guys get excited when he passes, because the guys the two guys are a couple British guys that do the race commentary when I listen. And it's like, there's another cracking pass. You know, they get so excited when the guy's like, oh, he's doing it again.
I had some weird thing I was going to talk about, like nationalism in F1, and there's a weird thing with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's only 20 drivers, and sometimes like your nationality is important to like how you get a driver's seat.
Oh, okay. I never thought of that.
Because like one thing you're thinking, like, oh, Mercedes was maybe like in the running to get Sebastian Vettel to come to Mercedes because he's German, and so
yeah,
and they're a German automaker. But then he's going to what will become Aston Martin, and then some people are saying like the value of that is that Germany is Aston Martin's like second, like the highest buyers is in Germany.
the market for
So having Sebastian Vettel will like help that somehow. Or you got Sergio Perez, who he's the only Mexican driver, and he has a lot of sponsors out of Mexico, and because he's the only Mexican driver, he has a lot of sponsorship behind him. So if you get him in your driver's seat, you get a lot of sponsorship money coming at your team.
Yeah.
There's a lot of famous Brazilian drivers, which I don't know. I don't necessarily associate Brazil with racing, but yeah, Ayrton Senna was Brazilian, and I'm forgetting the other guy's name. But yeah, I think there was like 3 championship drivers from Brazil.
Yeah, that doesn't really surprise me though, because the Brazilians are like, well, they love their contact sports. They love their martial arts, and yeah, I could see that being racing, an extension of something like that.
There's a lot of Finnish drivers.
Huge country too.
Yeah, Valtteri Bottas is Finnish. Kimi Räikkönen is Finnish. There's some other guy I was watching stuff about. I think his name is Hakkinen or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, currently, there's but yeah, that's also like Antonio Giovinazzi. Like when people say, because like people are kind of talking about him like he's probably gonna lose his seat.
Yeah.
Because he just he's not really, he's in a bad car, but like they still expect results. But like one of the reason people are saying he's keeping his seat is because he's the only Italian driver in the grid right now.
Yeah.
And that that counts. Like they have a ton of Italian fans. So and he's on.
They had an American run in F1. I know there have been some, but not many.
Yeah, the last notable one I know about was when they had it was one of the Andretti's was in F1.
Yeah.
But that was like the early 90s or something like that.
Yeah.
They have 2 Canadians. Like that's about as close as you get. Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi are both Canadian drivers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in America, there are so many options for people to get into racing here that.
Yeah.
Because we have our own, we do a lot of racing here.
There's a couple Americans in the feeder leagues, but they don't appear to be champion ready. But
Oh, those
there.
are guys. They're just practicing for IndyCar. That's what those guys are usually doing.
There's one guy that they expect to get called up. Maybe he's not the champion. Like, well, actually, right now I believe the champion of F2, I think it's done. I'm not sure. Is I immediately forgot. Is Schumacher? It's Michael Schumacher's son.
Oh, okay.
So they definitely want to get that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Get him in our Ferrari cars, but the Ferrari car's not available next year. But and then there's this other guy. It's like Tasoba, I think his name is something like that. He's part of the Red Bull junior team, and man, I saw this fucker make one of the craziest passes I ever saw. Just super bold. It's like, yeah, this guy's talented. So also, I think he wrecks a lot. So sometimes talent doesn't always go in your favor. But I think he was in third place, and the guys in front of him were like racing side to side. And you're like, who's gonna take it? Is this guy gonna take it? Is that guy gonna take it? And then this guy just like finds an opening out of nowhere and fucking passes both of them and like wins the race.
That's cool.
Yeah, you gotta like those guys.
But yeah, also there's currently, I think there's sort of 4 French drivers on the F1 grid. So you got Romain Grosjean is French. Well, I guess he's actually Swedish, but he identifies as French.
Okay.
That's a thing too. 'Cause you have Alex Albon. I think he's technically British, but his mother is Thai, so he identifies as a Thai driver.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, also like because he does that, he's getting more sponsorship opportunities
Ah, okay.
because he's the only one on the grid who has a Thailand.
A tie to Thailand. Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
See, I'm listening.
Esteban Ocon is French, and Pierre Gasly is French. Charles Leclerc is from Monaco, which is I don't know. It's like a city-state of France, but it's technically a state unto itself. But it's essentially France.
Bunch of rich people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Sebastian Vettel's German. You got Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris are British. There's usually a lot of British drivers.
Yeah.
Carl Sainz is Spanish. What else we got? Oh, and then Max Verstappen is Dutch. Is that Netherlands?
Yeah, I think so.
And then Kevin Magnussen is Danish. He's from Denmark or whatever. So that's why I can remember off the top of my head the national makeup of F1 drivers. But yeah,
That's
stuff,
good. I don't know any of them, so you got me
Yeah.
beat on that.
Well, it's just interesting how that stuff comes into play, like why you get to drive an F1. It depends on what country you're from.
It makes sense.
And not
'cause
necessarily.
it's probably-
Well, it's not necessarily always privileged because, like, if you're coming from an unusual place, but you're bringing sponsorship money, then that's why you get the seat because you're bringing money
Yeah.
in because the whole country's behind you.
yeah, well, it makes perfect sense. That's a good way to think of it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was like soccer where they have all those. I know they have national teams in that too, but they have a lot of people. There's a lot of Americans that are in soccer in Europe.
Yeah, I mean that's where the money is, right?
Yeah, well, they just kind of downplay like they'll be playing for a national or for another team or a club, and it's like, oh yeah, these 5 of the players on this team are from America. They're American professional soccer players, and it's like, yeah, you follow the money.
Then I watched I believe it's on Hulu. It's called And We Go Green,
Okay,
which this is about Formula E.
Oh, electric cars, huh?
Yeah.
I watched a few of those races. Those are interesting sounding races.
Actually, there's really not a gear change. It's just kind of a weird whine.
Yeah, the pitch of the tires changes as the speed increases.
Sounds like a room full of dildos going off.
This is directed by Fisher Stevens
Really?
and
That's great.
produced by Leonardo DiCaprio.
Did he direct it pretending to be Indian? Just out of fun, just as a nice memory lane thing?
No,
Like,
but
darn.
the only time you see him in the movie is that they're so there's a lot of things about like how Formula E works, but like they always race in city centers. I think it's something to do with pollution because like really populated cities have like a lot of pollution, and this is kind of promoting less polluting vehicles. But also the races themselves are like powered by like renewable energy.
Oh, okay.
So like the cars are charged with this generator that they bring with them, but it's not hydrogen fuel because apparently hydrogen fuel doesn't do well under pressure and when you transport it by an airplane.
No, the Hindenburg did not have a good luck of hydrogen to New York.
What
So-
happened to that? No, just kidding.
Well, it was the container. They didn't necessarily talk about like the fuel itself. The container breaks or something weird. But they use something called aqua fuel, which I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's a different kind of hydrogen cell, I imagine. And you can drink it. So they're sitting there. Well, actually, they say you can taste it. Like they sit there and taste it, and then nothing happens to them. It's like this is powering this whole building right now. It's like yeah.
Nice.
So that's weird.
Aqua fuel. I don't know. I have to look that up.
So yeah, Fisher Stevens comes out from behind the camera to taste some aqua fuel. And then this the documentary is a little bit behind the times because I think it got when they made it and then it went on a film circuit. So by the time it came out, it was kind of like 3 years behind what the current Formula E was doing. So like the documentary is like slightly dated, but it's a really well done documentary. But because the problem they had early on was just the battery life couldn't last the whole race. So what they would do when they do pit stops is that you would drive into your garage, get out of your car, and then jump into another car and finish the race. So you had
Yeah, I
two
remember
cars.
seeing some of those changes.
So, but now they have it that the battery pack lasts the whole race, so they do the whole race on one car.
Oh, okay.
But like during this documentary, they're still doing the jumping out of the car thing. Yeah, the characters are pretty interesting because a weird thing about a weird cast off of F1 is like people that burn out in F1 become champions in other racing series. Like you think, oh, this guy's career's dead, and then he goes over to IndyCar and like he's like a 3-time world champion.
Yeah.
So a lot of those people are in Formula E. A lot of F1 burnouts that and I think because I only think one person has won a championship twice in Formula E. There's a lot of, and there was one I think it was last year. There was 9 different race winners in a row, which is like kind of like I'm not sure unheard of, but like crazy for like these racing series where the cars are very close to each other.
Yeah.
What I mean that they just don't. There's not a whole lot of difference between the cars. But yeah, and we go green. I would suggest give it a look. It's on Hulu.
And we go green. Okay.
Well, they announced. Speaking of going green, they announced at work this week that Ford is spending $1 billion to expand the Rouge complex. I knew they were doing something because they had all these areas marked off, including half the places we park. But now they've officially said like the F-150 electric. It's like they're making the battery and everything in house over there. They're not letting any of the stuff out until it's ready to release, because I guess that industry has become like piracy.
Yeah.
Who can get the next best super battery, and you don't farm. They're not farming that out anymore. they're making it in house. So they announced they're going to need 500 more people to work at the Rouge.
Oh, it's sort of. Oh yeah, so, this is something I forgot about that from the Ang We Go Green. When McLaren built that battery that now does one race,
Yeah.
because they had to figure out how to just make it smaller. So they did something, they did some engineering magic.
Yeah.
But the guy who runs Formula E, he was a politician. I forget what he was a politician for, but he was like in the UN and stuff like that. And he married the president's daughter.
Okay.
And so he decided he couldn't be a politician in the country anymore.
Yeah, that could be compromising.
Yeah, it was conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And then because he has all these business connections, he became a businessman, and then he created Formula E, and not necessarily for like that's the right word, altruistic.
Yeah, altruistic.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just more practical things. It's like, well, this is where this is gonna be, so we're just gonna start here now. It's not necessarily because like I'm a hippie and I want to save the earth. It's like this is just gonna be how things are in the future, and we're gonna start here.
Right.
As he's sitting there smoking a cigar. Yeah, I don't really give a shit about that, but
Yeah.
I see the business opportunity here, so we're gonna take it. But that's how with his political connections, that's how he's able to get a lot of these races in these city centers where you can never do it before. Like they race in Rome. And I guess there hasn't been a race in Rome in like 20 years. Like, how the fuck did you do that? It's like, well, he's a politician, so.
Yeah.
He knows what to do.
Yeah.
He knows where the bodies are buried. No one's gonna-
So, Colin, I went to the Formula E website just because I didn't realize this was even a thing.
Yeah.
One of the drivers, his name is Lucas Degrassi, like the show Degrassi. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's entertaining.
I believe he is a champion.
I think, 10 wins. Yeah, 32 podiums. Yeah, he's Brazilian, I guess.
Okay, yeah. There's one guy's name is Jean-Eric Vernine, but they just call him Jev.
Yeah, like, that's easier, I think. I could see why you'd be like, we're just going to do that. That's fair. Yeah, that's entertaining. I like there's something on their website. It's like, give the driver a boost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's called Fan Boost.
Yeah.
So during the race, there's kind of these little sections during a race, because these races are are on city tracks, just closed off city tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So the racing is like, it's very hard to pass.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of room to pick up speed.
Mm-hmm.
But these cars are a lot more durable than F1 cars, because F1 cars are built light and for speed, but like as soon as they touch each other, it's like a hand grenade goes off.
Yeah.
But these F1 cars are very heavy because of the batteries, and they'll knock each other around pretty good. And still keep racing. What was I even talking about?
The fan boost thing.
Yeah. So, but also there's these parts of the track that have like little arrows on it, but they're in like odd parts of the track. But if you drive over the arrows, you are given an extra boost for your car for going off the normal part of the path of the race.
So like a video game?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Oh.
So basically what that does when you do that, it then in your car you can hit a button and it basically gives you you have like a turbo on your car that you're only allowed to use when you get these boosts. And so each race they have, like on Twitter, you vote for the racer that you want to have fan boost, and they basically get like another one of these power hits from Twitter.
That's entertaining.
Direct audience participation in automotive racing. That's amazing.
That's awesome. And apparently, like, if I'm reading this website right, you can watch like full races on YouTube and stuff. So
Yeah, to watch them live is basically impossible, but yeah, if you wait like 3 weeks, they're all on YouTube. So
there you go.
so
Nice.
that's good at least.
That's where I watch them.
And they're very short. They're like half-an-hour races. So
That's not bad.
yeah.
The running of the vacuum cleaners.
Yeah, the souped up Roombas. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like one of the names of the teams is Tech Cheetah,
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's a good name.
which I want to say is a Chinese company, but in the documentary they said they were like a privately owned, like they're the only privately owned racing team in the league. So.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing where the guy saw their opportunity because the guy that runs this, at one point he was working for F1, and he wanted to get all these sponsorship deals, but everybody said like, no, you burn fossil fuels, we can't sponsor you, and that's what he's getting fed up with that, and that's where he came up with this idea. It's like, well, if we're running like these clean cars and everything, we can get way more sponsorship deals because it just seems friendlier. It seems like you're helping the environment by running a goddamn race. And then there's a new league he's coming up with, which is Lewis Hamilton. He bought a team that's going to race in it, where they drive like electric, like off-road vehicles. I think they call them like Chargers. They're like kind of almost like car-based SUVs with really like high suspension and like just really lots of horsepower.
Yeah, like those desert run trucks. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're gonna do races in like in areas where they're really heavily affected by climate change. The idea is you go to this place with the fucked up terrain, you have this race in it, and then when you're done, you like clean up the area as you go.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there, because that's kind of the opposite of what they do with Formula E, where the idea is you race in city centers where there's more pollution that affects people. So, but here this is more about climate change.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Let's see. I had to replace a water heater this week.
That's kind of pricey, isn't it? Usually, or
About $1,300.
okay.
Yeah, did you have like the Breaking Bad conversation where it's like, do you want to go tankless?
They talked about that. There was a few different options because I usually run a 50-plus gallon water heater. Most people run 40. They had a few different ones, but the thing is that you get into like, if you want something that's like super effective on demand, it's like $3,200 installed because they got to replumb a lot of things, and it's a lot more work. So I just went with the standard flue type, but this one's a much higher. This is actually what do they call this? It's basically like they have the same ones at my work. It's the same company, and they have like 15 of them in a room because they're doing hundreds of showers and hand washings a day. So it's like, well, those must be good because I don't see those being replaced a lot.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the public company is called A.O. Smith, but I forget what this brand is because this is like their industrial grade water heaters, and it's like, oh yeah, it's all like bolted together all across the top and everything. It's not like riveted; it's like bolted. It's like, oh okay, yeah, this is a good water heater. But yeah, the last one I put in wasn't as nice, but yeah, I went through this whole pricing odyssey because Stacy's like, well, there's no hot water coming out, and I go downstairs and look, and there's water all over the floor. It's like, yeah, the water heater's broke, and but I called different people, and it's like the prices varied so wildly, and these guys came in with a price and I know these guys. I was favoring these guys from the beginning, but yeah, they beat everyone else on price, and they had a better quality product to put in too. But so it's yeah, well, water heaters aren't cheap anymore though. And they don't last as long as they used to. I remember they used to last for like 20 years or whatever. Like, nope, not anymore. But this one will probably last a while.
How many water heaters have you changed?
The Builders one that they put in, which is just some off-brand, lasted 6 years. The next one I put in, which was a Sears back when that was still a thing, I think this one lasted 11 years. And then so yeah, I've been here 21 years. So yeah, it lasted, let's see, if I've been here 21 years, the first one lasted like 8 years. I think this one lasted like 12. So, and it just died this week. So I couldn't get it same day because you have to pay extra for that. And it's a lot extra. And I was like, well, okay, we'll just boil some water on the stove, just like a third world country, because I'm not paying an extra premium to have hot water. And even though my wife was working, she's like, I'm not paying extra for that. So I was like, okay, we're in agreement. It's going to take a few days, but actually they ended up showing up the next day, which was a surprise. But yeah, so that was no, yeah, I there's a lot of different options out there for heating water. They have like those Buffalo machines that like they hold like, oh god, you can get like 100 gallons, but essentially you could take a shower for 24 hours and never run out of hot water. Like, well, I'm not doing that. But see, I'm gonna have one bathroom, so we're not running like multiple showers in multiple rooms and
Yeah.
But I do get the 50-gallon one for the extra capacity, which is nice. Because most people get 40. It's like, I'll get the 50. But see, in Michigan, you can't do that yourself. Like, it doesn't look hard to hook up, but the thing is, here they changed all the laws where you have to pull a permit to do that, and you can't pull the permit unless you have like I think it's a plumber's license. Because people were putting them in by themselves, and they're blowing their fucking house up. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. And I don't mess with stuff like that, and I don't mess with gas and electricity in my home. So, but yeah, so we should be good until we sell the house. This is what the guys that were, that put it in say, yeah, all the landlords swear by these because they never die. It's like, well, good. And they were like, so yeah, when you move tenants in here, you can, that you won't have to worry about this. Like, tenants? What are you talking about? I'm selling this place when I'm not going to keep it and rent it to people. Oh, you can make a lot of money doing that. Yeah, I'm sure you can. But I also have to talk to people every month. Hey, you got my money?
Yeah.
And on the door, and like I see the blinds open and then they close. It's like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not going to be renting properties. It's like, you can make a lot of money. I know. You can also make a lot of money selling crack. Doesn't mean I want to do it.
Yeah, it's really lucrative. I'm okay.
Because there's people out here that rent houses. I was like, what do you pay a month to rent this place? And it's some astronomical figure. It's like, dude, my mortgage is like a quarter of that. It's like, well, you've lived there a long time. It's like, true, but I think you're getting fucked. I don't think you should be paying this much. But, some people don't see it that way. So water heaters. Get them checked, even though you can't do any maintenance on them. Or the maintenance you pay to have done on them, it would be cheaper to replace them.
I was gonna say, how do you know they're going bad before they actually just stop?
Well, there's a thing in them called an anodon rod, which basically it runs a low level current in there, which kind of draws all the heavy. Because there's a few things that kill a water heater. One of them is, and I learned this talking to the guy who was putting it in. One of the things is you get sediment in the bottom, and sediment becomes very heat resistant because it's just rock. You went from a 40-gallon vessel to or a 50-gallon vessel to a 40. Now you're down to a 30 because you're just heating a bunch of rock. So you have these things they put in them. They're just low current anodon rods that go on either side, and that'll draw the sediment to those. But those malfunction, quit working after about 2 years.
Okay.
You can have those replaced for like $500.
Okay.
But it's like, yeah, we're talking, and those are the units that are serviceable. A lot of them are sealed units, so it's and they have to meet all kinds of safety requirements. Because if you don't have a basement like me, they're putting this stuff upstairs or in garages, or there's different places around the house they're located when you don't have a basement. And, people do stupid shit like store their racing motorcycles and all their gasoline around this giant Bunsen burner, and so they have to have fume detectors on them so they won't kick on. It's just all kinds of safety stuff built into them because people are morons.
That tracks, yeah.
And then, there's other maintenance stuff you can do. Some of them used to have sediment stirs. You can drain them, pressurize them, and drain them. But, if you got an older one it's metal that's just been heated and cooled constantly. It's like, yeah, let's bring that up to pressure and see what happens there.
See what happens.
Yeah. So if you buy a $3,500 one of those open bottom ones, yeah, you can do that kind of stuff. But I'm not paying $3,500 for a water heater.
Nah, that's probably not a great use of money.
Yeah, so
Once I had a water heater, just shoot a fireball out. That was fun.
yeah, that's why they make all the safety shit now, so they don't do that.
Well, no, it was a weird circumstance of events that made it happen. It was essentially, so what happened? Like, it was like some bug spray fell off the washer and landed in just a way that it was just constantly spraying.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
And I was like, I had just come downstairs from like school, and I was like, "What's that shh sound?" Like, I just gonna, and all of a sudden I see this, whoosh,
And you're like, all right.
and like the like bug spray is just like shooting fire. So I had to get a broom and like knock that away, and then it was fine. And then, but like it was because it was near the washing machine. There's just laundry there on fire.
Mom.
Which I also put out with a broom.
So I take it fell on top of it near the chimney or the.
No, it was at the bottom was where the like pilot light is.
Oh, okay.
So eventually, like that gas field of bug spray got to the pilot light, and that's what exploded. Was just the gas in the air.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Well, it wasn't under like compression or anything, so it was just it was basically a very light fireball, but still it put fire on things, which was not good. And if I didn't come down there at that time after school, like fuck, the house could have caught on fire.
Oh yeah, it would have burned all the laundry up, and then yeah, that's no good. See, that's why the new ones have those sensors on them, because it would have detected that as flammable gas and shut the pilot light and everything off.
Huh.
That's what the new ones. They all have those. They all use the same one. It's the Honeywell like HT11 controller. But it was because of shit like that. But it was also mainly because of people that had them like in their garage or whatever, or upstairs. Is like, yeah, let's store all the gasoline like in a just in a pool right around the giant Bunsen burner. And
I mean, I don't know how that could go wrong.
yeah. Well, I've heard horror stories from these guys that go into houses, man. Because I usually sit around and shoot the shit with the guys because I'm interested in what they're doing, and yeah, they've been into some weird houses. Like, you ever deal with hoarders? And it's like every other fucking house. Oh yeah, they've seen some shit. And then people have weird expectations. Or it's like, oh, you can't come in here. Like, people hang sheets up over doors. It's like, what do these people got going on? My house, you can like walk right in. It's like, hey, you want to use the bathroom? Go ahead. It's whatever you got to do. There's nothing secret going on here. I don't have like a Nazi room or something that I don't want you to see. Just busts of Hitler and swastikas on the walls. And
That's funny you should mention that, because I have a coworker that one time I only went to his house one time. He had like a Christmas party or whatever, and he's like, and everyone's like, "Hey, Mark, you should show everyone your Nazi memorabilia room." And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure."
yeah,
And I was like,
shit just laying around.
"Yeah, he had all this like Nazi stuff." I'm like, "Why do you have this?" He's like, "Oh, I really love history." I'm like, "Okay, but I don't know if I believe that, but sure." Yeah.
I mean, I have like shelves of books,
Mm-hmm.
like, but I mean, there's like stuff about the Reich and there's stuff about the Civil War here. But yeah, I wouldn't. I remember someone tried to sell me a Luger once, and it had the Wehrmacht acceptance stamp on it. And I said, yeah, I'm not interested in those. And I was like, he's like, why not? And I said, well, you know how the receivers made like a tuning fork? So that's old metal, and that tends to crack at that tuning fork, and I'm not interested in having that gun and shooting it. But this guy kept coming at me, and I was like, well, if you shoot me a price that I'm willing to pay, then I'll buy it. I'm trying to sell it. It's like, well, it's got the acceptance stamp on it. It's like, well, I can look at swastikas on the internet, dude. What are we doing here? Like, and it was just the eagle more than anything, because it had been rubbed down. It's like, yeah. This doesn't interest me. That's having pictures of because I mean, there's a whole subsection of the modeling world that's like, some of these guys are way too into busts It's like, I'm a figure painter. It's like, yeah, do they make a model of Hitler? Yeah, they do. And but John's like, I don't sell them. So, I mean, you can get that stuff online. I'm not ordering that shit in here. They want like Nazi action figures. It's like, I just like to paint figures. Yeah, sure you do. I mean, I do a lot of German tanks and stuff, but I don't want like, you know, like the Goering action adventure set. You know, it's like, look, it's Himmler and Hitler and they're talking, and it's like, you're a crazy person.
Wouldn't you say that was a phrase amongst the builders, like to swastika or not to swastika?
Yeah, because you can't. Most of the armor did not have swastikas on it, but a lot of the aircraft did, because it was like a big advertisement thing. And yeah, if I took a picture of some of these planes I've made, that like the dive bomber, the Stuka it did the actual period correct picture I had. It had swastikas on it, so I put them on there because it was period correct. But if I put that on Facebook too much, they'd flag my account.
Yeah.
Being pro-Nazi or something. It's like, wow, it's actually a model. But I try to avoid it if it's not, because I'll only put on it what's on it from the pictures I build from. All the German armor, most of it had the Iron Cross, because that was main. See, there's a difference between the Nazi SS and the Wehrmacht. They weren't. People confuse that because they always put like SS guys in tanks. It's like they had some tank divisions that were SS. They didn't have a lot. The most common stuff you're going to encounter are the regular German army soldiers, not the SS. So you don't need to like go all full SS on that tank. It was mainly used by guys that were drafted that didn't want to be there in the first place. So they're gonna, and Germany still uses the Iron Cross. It's still a legitimate symbol of Germany. But yeah, some of these guys really, it's like, I want to get the extra large swastika set. It's like, okay, dude. Now, a lot of people that build now the ships, a lot of those
Sailing fans of swastika.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to keep it balanced. It's gyrating. Yeah, so yeah, I try to avoid it unless it's period correct. But I'm mainly an armor builder, and most armor didn't have swastikas. There's a lot of aircraft and naval stuff. But I don't do naval stuff, and I don't do a lot of aircraft. So, but yeah, people that want to do like just really get deep into like, I want to paint a bust of Hitler. It's why he lost.
Yeah, what's the point of that? Yeah.
What's the thing is, like, he lost. I mean, you must build a bust of Stalin. At least he helped win that war. I mean, he was a horrible human being and a murderer too. But if you don't partake of the losers. But yeah, there's people. I know what they're doing. They think they're being clever. It's like, okay, dude, whatever. You know the truth about? No, go away. Stop. I don't want to hear it.
There's somebody at my wife's work the other day that's apparently spent like half an hour just randomly talking about September 11th conspiracy theories, like on September 11th, and she's like,
good.
Yeah, why are we doing this? Are you just practicing for next year because it's 20 years and you have really fine-tuned your conspiracy theory? Like, what is... It's like,
7.
Yeah. It was an inside job. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind those. Like, that doesn't seem as stupid to me as like Flat Earth or
Yes.
QAnon or something like that. The Flat Earth QAnon, they just annoy me. That's just like, oh, come on, this is so dumb.
But Tom Hanks loves children's blood, Nathan, and he drinks it to stay young, and that's
the first thing I think.
And that's why he got Greek citizenry, so he could go there and drink their blood of the Greek kids. You know, and I'm just, it's a Grecian formula. It's pretty good stuff.
Now, so you can talk to me about that, which I don't know anything about, or you can talk to me about like how metal bends and building engineering, which I also don't know anything about, and neither does Nathan telling me. But I'm more apt to believe the building.
It's a little, yeah.
Than I am drinking blood and grease. It's like, what?
Well, yeah. I guess the guy at my wife's work was like, his big thing is like, oh, they planted bombs ahead of time in the towers, and it's like, maybe, I don't know. I don't think so, but.
Well, the only problem, here's the big problem with 9/11. If you come up with a theory that like 10 people coordinated this attack and put all the bombs in the building or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe that. You're talking about a cast of thousands that has never broke rank in 20 years. Nobody guilty, got cancer, and made a deathbed confession about how they put thermite in and nobody noticed that in the World Trade Center.
Yeah,
like,
that was my biggest thing. Nobody noticed. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay.
work for the phone company or plugging a lot of wires into that.
Yeah, why is the Village people here again for the third day in a row? What is happening? Like, this is suspicious. And they're all from Saudi Arabia. What the hell? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, we have people like that in the military. I'm like, dude, you're in the military. We're the man. We're the conspiracy.
Yeah.
And we can't even get a phone book together. There's no way we planned 9/11.
Yeah, it was this intricate thing, and everything worked just to plan.
Yeah, I always like the guys that joined the military, and you've told me about several of these characters that are just balls deep in conspiracy theories. And technically by what you're talking about, like you've joined the people that are going to be the ones taking guns and rights and this is the group that will be doing that. You understand that, right? It's like, well, are you going to subvert it from the inside as a private in the military?
I'm going to be the one guy to stop it.
Yeah.
We're just here to
firing speech,
carry out secret operations, and don't forget your sexual assault prevention classes annually. That needs to be done immediately.
Yeah, that's but like I said, 9/11 is more 9/11 truth is more compelling to me than the current batch of stupidity. Because at least 9/11 truth, I know it's not true, and I'm not saying it is, but I can sort of wrap my head around some of.
It's like if you don't know, if you're not an expert in any field, but you have some scientific basis, you can see how someone arrives at these conclusions, but then does nothing to prove them. It's like, see, isn't this an interesting conclusion? Yes, but where's the science?
Yeah,
forget about all that.
Facts?
That's too expensive.
Yeah, just go with what I said. Don't worry about it.
I can't get any friends to run an experiment for me.
Yeah, but like the one blacksmith, he had now he did do something once on YouTube, and he's like, this is exactly the greatest steel that was in the Twin Towers, and is like, you don't have to get it up to melting temperature, because he took a thing of kerosene and lit it and just let the metal sit in there, and he's like, watch this, because he put it in a vise when it was cold and he couldn't move it for shit. He let it sit over some burning kerosene and something else. I think he was blowing air into it also, and he put it in the vise and it bent a lot. And it's like, okay, that's kind of interesting. It doesn't take everything into account that was going on that day. It's like, well, okay, shoot that piece of steel out of a cannon at 500 miles an hour too. We have to, include that into it. But, it was kind of like, oh, okay. See, that's why that sort of works for me. It's like, I know this isn't true, but let's just take this journey because it's fun. But I can't get into the interdimensional pedophile bullshit. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
We've all seen V in the 80s. We know what you're doing.
That was a good show.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, it's not. And they weren't even pedophiles. I think they just wanted to eat us. But, yeah, it's the same level of creepiness. And I don't even know if that's it. But I know it because I know a lot of it's just a bunch of weird sentence fragments. And it's like, oh, what does this mean? Guess the clues. It's like Bible code type nonsense. But it's like some action adventure thing. And then when you make Donald Trump the hero of it, I immediately pause there whoa.
Yeah, whoa. I was going to say, you don't just look at the guy. What is he a hero of? It's like, does he look like a hero of anything? He's going to stop stuff.
Golf and fried chicken.
Yeah. It's like, I really don't understand.
Yeah, phrases like Trump's moral crusade are just oxymoron.
I was going to say, I don't think he has any morality whatsoever. So that's hard to take.
Well, compared to Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I have a bust of Donald Trump and Hitler that I've painted. One is clearly worse than the other.
Sometimes they talk to each other.
Yeah.
Mostly about racial purity, but...
Sometimes they talk to me.
Yeah, and you don't want them to, but they do anyway.
Well, I keep them around to scare me. Oh, man. Well, we watched a movie this week.
Yes.
watched the Red Sea Diving Resort, which is a 2019 spy thriller starring Chris Evans as a Mossad agent.
Chris Evans. The only thing I can say about him is, did you guys hear about the dick pic with him? You know what I'm talking about?
I heard about it.
Well, tell me about Chris
So
Evans' dick pic.
I'm trying to remember. It was like I
It's
can't
like he's
remember
doing something
why.
on Instagram and he's like showing people something on his phone and he had
Yeah,
like
his
a
camera-
dick pic, he had
yeah.
a dick pic of himself on his phone.
Yeah, and inadvertently showed that to people. It's like, oh, so
That's
yeah.
weird.
hmm And then Mark Ruffalo's like, "Don't worry, dude. You don't be embarrassed because with all the stuff Donald Trump does, like whatever, like who cares?" And it's just like, oh, okay.
And then eventually he tweeted something. It's like, I know a lot of stuff has been said about me, so go vote.
Nice.
By
Don't be a
2020.
dick. Vote in November.
Yeah.
Don't cock block democracy. Go vote.
So Captain America is a Mossad agent in this movie, set in the. It starts off in like the late 70s, but kind of ends up in like the early 80s.
Okay.
Because there's a time period here that goes on, and it starts in it's in Sudan, and there's
Does
these.
it start in Ethiopia? Because they're Ethiopian Jews, right? And they have to like escape through Sudan.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're running from Ethiopia to Sudan to escape because Ethiopia is in the middle of a famine and civil war.
Yeah.
And apparently there is such a thing as Ethiopian Jews, which goes back to some ancient story that I didn't know. I was watching this and I was like, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But
Yeah, it's like the good parts about this movie is like did not know this happened.
no idea.
No, yeah, didn't know this was a thing.
First time hearing of it. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Has a good cast. They got Chris Evans. They Ben Kingsley, of course, Greg Kinnear.
Yeah.
He was the CIA agent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ben Kingsley was some big guy at the Mossad.
I like the guy that played like the colonel, like the bad guy colonel.
Oh,
Because he has given such a super generic role to play, but he does this weird thing with smiles that is like weirdly off-putting. It's like he just like did a lot with nothing, and he stood out.
yeah, he was kind of like generic bad guy. I think his name was Colonel Ahmed.
Yeah,
We did kind of this generic bad guy role, but he actually managed to project a lot of menace because
Yes.
a guy who could just kill you just if he wants to. Yeah, I just feel like it.
because he did things where like he'd smile at you, turn away from them, and then like just immediately like death scowl, and then like the reverse of that where he's death scowl looking at somebody, turns away and starts smiling like, oh fuck, what's up with this guy?
What's his story?
Had who was the leader of the Ethiopians?
Omar from The Wire. I can't remember his name.
Yeah. 'cause I knew it was them.
Michael something Williams, K. Williams, something like that.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
See, I didn't watch the movie, but I contributed that. So.
And it's one of those movies where it's kind of and I guess it's very loosely based on this actual operation.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like this isn't like this.
Well, at the end they show like some video footage and like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
Operation Moses was a real thing, and they got a lot of, I think, how many people? Because we took 1,000 in the United States, and I think the Israelis took, I forget. I think they took like 3,000. Which is why when you see those, and I always wondered when I saw, because they would have pictures of the IDF, and there was like, they were containing a riot or something. It's like, who are these black guys that, like, I never understood that. And it's like now, oh, that's these guys. Okay. Because there'd always be like a bunch of guys that looked like, just Jewish guys from somewhere, and then some big muscular black dude. And it's like, but he's wearing the same uniform they are. It's like, who's this guy? And it's like, oh, okay, now I get it. But yeah, this was actually pretty loosely based on that, from what I understand. So it's kind of a history lesson.
Because
but
the
it's-
setup is like they're getting people out in the beginning. Like how are they doing it? They're just putting people in trucks and trying to cross.
Well, first they're crossing the desert on foot, and then they meet trucks as they can find them.
Yeah.
But the problem with having trucks on the road is, you know, in Ethiopia and Sudan, they got all these roadblocks set up, and the guys running these roadblocks, they just shoot you. You know, they're not there to, you know, they kind of seem to have an informal military there operating, which is, so it's a lot of banditry, and so they decided it's like we need to have a cover to run a bigger operation. And that's where Chris Evans comes up with this idea, the Red Sea Diving Resort, which is because, you know, it's like a lot of things in that part of the world. There's some beautiful stuff there, but man, is it dangerous to be there. The
Yeah,
government-
because this is like an abandoned Italian like tourist
yeah,
destination in Sudan,
yep.
but it becomes their cover.
Yeah, and then they actually have to run it as a hotel
Yeah.
because the guy they bribed at the Sudanese government headquarters was like, he just started sending tourists their way, and they're like, oh shit, we gotta actually. But they don't really go into that too much. One of the problems I have with this movie is that, like, the parts of the story they're not telling, it seems like it's kind of rushed.
Yeah, it seems like this is this based on a book or is this just a movie unto itself?
This is a movie based on, like I said, real refugee operations that the U.S. and Israel did conduct at that time and have conducted since then. But
Okay.
this is the one set in the 70s and 80s.
Because I feel like this would be made as better as a book. Because this guy like destroyed by the critics.
Yeah. And there's a reason for that, but I did enjoy the movie. But yeah,
It seemed mostly because it's like, okay, here's a tragedy about these Ethiopian Jewish people trying to escape Ethiopia and have to go through Sudan, a Muslim country. It's like, oh, there's a lot of tragedy. But the movie is totally focused on good old white bread Captain America. So,
and his passion.
yeah.
He did a good thing, didn't he?
And by the way, the bad guys in this movie should be familiar to everyone. Boko Haram, do you remember those guys?
Oh yeah, I know those. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been conducting operations on those people in Africa for many years now. But this was the beginning of Boko Haram, which basically translates into all is forbidden. It's like, oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
These guys, everything's forbidden.
It's unfortunate, you know, that couldn't have been a metal or punk band first, but oh
Yeah.
well.
That
That's,
could be.
I mean, it could be if you wanted to get people mad at you, I guess.
Yeah, no one had the sense of humor about
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't have a sense of humor anymore, so
genocide in the Middle East or in the North Africa.
it's
But,
easy to find the lighter side. Yeah.
So yeah, this movie is yeah, it seems to like almost it bypasses a lot of
It's- It's
history that should be cool for a kind of a how would you say, like a moody, angry, you know, cast of
yeah.
like,
Well,
what are we doing? Why are we doing this?
There's like it's a lot of interesting ideas and like if these history bullet points are true, it's like that's fascinating, but it manages to be kind of generic throughout.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I will say about this movie. It's very generically interesting in a very generic way. It's like, I want to know more. As a matter of fact, I went down a YouTube rabbit hole of Ethiopian Jews because I was like, who are these people? How did
Yeah,
they-
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either, and I learned a lot about it. It's interesting and sad and horrifying at the same time. But they have found a home in Israel and the United States, so that's good. But
That's
there's still
good,
some of
yeah.
them there that are being killed by the same people.
Because I think like a movie you'd almost compare it to would be Argo. And
Yeah, it's
Argo-
very Argo, but not with less production and story.
yeah.
coherence. So yeah, it seemed to like capture that, but with like I said, just with kind of a story focused on the wrong people almost.
Yeah.
It-
Well,
it's-
that's like That's why I said it'd be made a better book, because you could have all these details, but you wouldn't be leaving out like the tragedy of the people you're trying to save.
Yeah.
Which is
People-
what happens here when you get a cast to sell a movie, you focus on them, but it's like they're trying to save a bunch of black Jews and you just forget about the black Jews.
Yeah, they
You're like-
show up and they're grateful, and it's like, oh wow, okay. There's got to be more to this than that.
And Captain America as a white savior. All right, good stuff. Was this movie like an independently made movie, or like where was this?
It's an another Israeli American movie.
Okay.
Yeah, Gideon Raff was the director. It's who funded it? Oh, Canada, United States, Israel. I don't know who funded it.
Benjamin
Studio.
Netanyahu.
Distributed by Netflix.
Oh, it's on Netflix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Netflix movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I can watch it. All right.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if I'd go the white savior route, but it's just like I don't think the camera's focusing on the most interesting story. That was my
Yeah.
problem with it. It's like I want to know about these people. I know why they're being killed. I understand that.
Yeah,
But I
because
want-
he's not exactly the white knight that comes in and shows the savages the true ways. Like, that's not exactly it. It's just like it's focused on his pain about saving people. It's like, hey, what about the pain of the people you're saving?
Yeah. What about the people that are actually in danger? You.
Which
fucktards?
I mean, they touch upon it, but it's like when you have Chris Evans in a movie, it's not like you're gonna like, yeah, let's, and they do. It feels like Michael K. Williams was just like they had him for like a week and they got as much out of his role as they could.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still but he's still like absent from like pretty much half the movie when he should be like a focus. Like he should be a B story. Like cut back to like what he's doing, because I mean he fucking gets stabbed. Like he's in a really dangerous situation. Chris Evans and his crew are kind of the point Z of his journey.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because also, like Michael K. Williams' character, he saves people in the first part of the movie, and he just goes back and keeps trying to save people. Like he's
Yeah, because the Israelis were trying to get him out. They're like, "You've done enough," and he's like, "No, I haven't."
Like, I sure haven't. You know, like, I'm gonna keep
Still a lot
trying.
more people, and
they're like one of the weird like bureaucratic twists that I thought was like oh, that's fucked up, is that because these Ethiopians were fleeing to Sudan, like they were getting essentially money for housing them in their country, and then when they are getting smuggled out of their country, they have less bodies to get money from other countries for.
yeah,
Which like I was like, oh geez, that's fucked up.
oh
Yeah, that is fucked up.
yeah. There was a few reasons that they, the Sudanese wanted to hold on to him, and also they wanted to kill him too. So that's and that's just that's the classic war over there. But yeah, it was. It seemed like I kept waiting for more. I was like, okay, where's the next element of this? And then of course the CIA guy, who's well acted, was also kind of like a terrible human being in some points. Is like, yeah, it's another massacre and killing and starvation in Africa. What else is new? Like they were trying to get the CIA to buy into helping them because the CIA has 1,000% more resources than the Mossad. And he's like, I can't sell this to my people. No one even knows where these places are in America. It's like, oh, it's another starvation in Africa. Who cares? And finally the CIA does help them, but it's like the guy's real sarcastic and cocky about, you're coming here, you're making trouble.
Making trouble.
Which
Wow.
seems so like boilerplate for these. It's like, tell me a different story where the CIA guy really feels some passion for this, but he has to move kind of in weird ways to, solve the problem.
Yeah.
Which was what was cool about like Charlie Wilson's War.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was like, yeah, this guy, and the book is 100% better than the movie. Don't watch the movie. Read the book. But yeah,
I mean, the movie's fun, but it's not the book.
yeah, no, the book's amazing. And rich with detail.
The book's
yeah,
also incredibly long, so
yeah, it's like 1,200 pages too, but it's worth it.
Is it on audiobook? I'd
Oh, yeah.
It
listen
is,
to
yeah, it is.
Okay.
I mean, you learn a lot about weapons procurement in the 1980s. But yeah. Anyway, back to the Red Sea Diving Resort. I was
Is there gonna be a sequel? Is that why they left out a lot of stuff? They're like, we gotta save.
no, I don't believe there's going to be a sequel. This
That's my only
movie got
guess.
smashed. I think it has like a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, which
I mean, that doesn't necessarily matter to Netflix. It just matters like if people clicked on it, which I imagine they did, because the audience score is like 76. So
yeah, I mean it's mildly entertaining. And
I mean, mostly like it got like what I got smashed on the critics for is like basically, yeah, essentially they're calling it a white savior movie. Isn't the technical definition? I don't think it's that, but like it fits in the focus of the.
yeah, I mean my problem with it in reviewing it would not be that. It would be like, oh, there was a much better movie you could have made here. You didn't even have to try to be political and throw like the stuff that was really going on and why it was going on was amazing and interesting and something most Americans don't know anything about. And you already had the cast here, you had the writers, you had the cameras. You could have made that movie. Instead, you made something where it almost seemed like you're trying to cash in on people's names.
Yeah.
They're like, this is gonna go straight to Redbox. People will love it.
But if you're just
Well,
a
it
cast,
was like that. There's like that moment where like they're trying to sell the whole thing to like one of their bosses, and he's like, "So you're telling me?" And it's like a scene out of Ocean's 11, and it's fucking ridiculous.
That's Carl Reiner's there. It's good stuff.
yeah, well, you don't need to explain things in simple terms to an intelligence director. Guys are pretty smart,
Oh.
but yeah, that's what goes on there. But yeah, so it was like if you're casually interested and you want something exciting, but that's a good movie. But if you're definitely going to feel uninterested or disappointed if you found the source material fascinating, which I did, and I was waiting for the movie to go further into that, and it never did. So, but that's what YouTube's for.
That's true.
So you can get, because YouTube's a completely unbiased source of information.
Yeah, it's beyond reproach. There's nothing about it that I have a problem with. Yeah,
When I think truth, I think YouTube.
The first thing I think of.
I was watching AEW Dark, which is their YouTube show where they have a lot of their younger talent do stuff. So, and they had a Veda Scott. She was on because they were having a women's match on, and she usually does a lot of commentary for the women's matches. Not exclusively, it's just kind of they bring her in for that. And and then they ended up in the middle of the match. They were talking about YouTube comments. He's like, as a woman's wrestler, as a woman and a wrestler, I do not read YouTube comments.
Yeah,
that would be a waste of time for her. Yeah, that would be good.
I know there's nothing good coming my way. So. Anyway, Red Sea Diving Resort. Watch it.
It's available.
Available.
Give it a shot.
Next couple of movies, we're going to be exploring sardonic superhero movies from other countries.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So next week we're watching Freaks, You're One of Us, which is like a German, almost seems like a comedy superhero movie. Although in one of the subgenres it says dark, so I'm not sure if it's going to be funny, but also it's German, so.
Yeah,
How could it not
even
be
the
funny?
lighthearted stuff from Germany.
And then there's another one. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll get to it. It's a Spanish language superhero movie.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll check those out. See if they're any good.
Are those on Netflix too? Then?
Yes,
or-
yeah. We're currently in the series where we just watch Netflix movies because we have access to it, so we don't have to pay extra for them. Usually when we do movies, it's like we all have to buy it, so this is it just makes it cheaper.
No, that's smart.
For the production of the show, and then we can turn around and because now we're doing the book club stuff, so now we can buy a book for the month and then save money elsewhere. So
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now
So-
we have those Patreon bucks rolling in.
Yeah, let's make a Patreon plug. If anybody out here listening wants to give us money,
If anyone wants
Where
to
can they-
create
where-
the Patreon,
yeah, well, yeah, we don't want to do that. We just want the money part. So if you can do all the infrastructure and give us the money, that'd be great.
Yeah, we're just here to generate content.
That's it.
hang out on the internet.
Pay by the hour content. All right. Well, that's all I got.
All right.
So this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
And Matt.
Goodbye, America.